no problem, no problem. Okay. Okay. You let me know when we're ready.
Yes. Yeah, so we're recording.
Okay.
That's all good.
All right.
Morning, everyone. Thank you again for coming. So, we've got Mita who's going to do a quick talk on sustainable leadership, if I'm right in saying. And then we've got a few other people who have some announcements and things that they want to share afterwards. So we'll come back to those as well. But yeah, I'll let you get started.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Are we good? Yeah, brilliant. Hi everyone, my name is Mita Patel and I'm hoping to introduce an interesting topic to you guys today. If you have any questions, I'll take them at the end. Actually, no, I'll take them in between, so we'll take a few breaks, otherwise it'll just be like me talking for ages. So just to tell you a little bit more about me. So my background is technology. So I've been a technology leader for 25 years. So I've done all sorts of roles within software development, architecture, senior engineer, etc. I then did a bit of a pivot into product management because I loved how we built products, but I really wanted to understand, well, who are we building them for? What problems are we solving? So I did a lot of product management for a good 5 years, product ownership. And then for the last 5 years, I've been in executive roles. So I've been a director of product. And during that period, I actually started working on hardware as well as software. So designing, manufacturing hardware, and then thinking about the firmware or the software that goes into the hardware. My most recent company was a company called Vukovo. When I mention this, you're going to see them everywhere. So when you go to any Sainsbury's, you go to John Lewis, you go to any tier 1 retailer really in the UK, you'll see the colleagues wearing those headsets. That push-to-talk functionality and those headsets are the headsets that I was the CTO for that company when we designed and manufactured those, and we had like the 4th biggest retailer in the world as well using our headset. So a really exciting and interesting role. My responsibilities for Vukovo were all of hardware, all of software, all of internal IT. And doing that expansive role, I found myself in a position towards the end of last year where I felt really overwhelmed. There was so much for me to do. There was so much responsibility that I had that I thought, well, I've done all this stuff for a long time. What is it that I'm really good at? What is it that I can offer other people that are either coming into this profession or already in this profession? And I started to really think about my value proposition, and I had a coach at the time as a senior leader, and that coach was great. So they used to help us navigate some complexities and so forth. But I came across something quite interesting towards the end of last year. My friend's with me here today as well, and it came from a completely alternative place, which is energy and Reiki. And I thought about energy, and I thought about actually, that's great from a holistic well-being perspective, but actually as a technology leader and as somebody that's trying to sustain their mindset with all this responsibility, I'd like to understand how we can use energy alongside being a senior leader. And I came across IPEC, which was completely, I didn't expect to meet a company that would tick all those boxes for me. And since then, I've been on a journey to become a certified coach, a core energy coach. But I want to maintain my technology background. So I'm now in a process of actually becoming IFC qualified. I'm also doing board advisory work. So I'm getting trained to be a board advisor. But equally, I'm trying to bring kind of core energy with executive leadership. And I'm experimenting with the idea of helping social innovation social innovation founders who are basically trying to create technology for good. So I'm bringing all of that together. So that's a lot of stuff about me. So I wanted today bring a few things that I've learned over the last kind of 6 to 7 months where I think a group like this would benefit from just a few nuggets that might help you understand energy a bit better and mindset a bit better as well within the technology landscape. Okay. Any questions before I move on? No. Okay. All right. So I'm thinking about sustainable leadership. And actually it was interesting that because you said to me, are you doing are you doing something to do with sustainable tech or, it's not about sustainable technologies, this is about sustainable leadership. And actually the reason I've used the word sustainable is how do you kind of mitigate the highs and the lows, because when you're on a high, it's amazing. You've got the title, you've got the money, you've got the responsibility, all the rest of it. But the higher you are, the stronger the fall, right? So when you're then here, like right now, I haven't got a title, I've got my own business, I'm trying to make something of nothing. And actually, you have to maintain your mindset when you're here and here. And therefore, how do we do that in a sustainable way? And that's where there's some of the topics I'd like to talk about and mitigate. And you can't completely mitigate, but balance some of the highs and lows of leadership. Okay, so some of the things that I've historically been taught are how to be a strategic leader, how to align on our mission, our vision, our OKRs, our plans. And as a leader, my role was to see success through others. I had large teams, I had people, subject matter experts, etc. So I knew how to be a strategic leader, hold myself accountable, hold others accountable. I knew how to be a mentor because I had all this great experience. How could I impart some of my experience onto others? So mentorship was great. And I thought I understood coaching 6-7 months ago. And my definition at the time was being curious with others. Servant leadership is something that I really value, working in agile processes, creating autonomous teams. So I thought I understood it, and that was, for me, my model in terms of how I operated as a senior executive. And what I've now learned since then is actually how do I bring this sustainable mindset alongside the 3 things that I've already learned, okay? I'm not going to go through all of this, but it's primarily around self-regulation, resilience, and really thinking about who are you being in this situation. There's loads of external factors. Economy might be bad, AI might be, overwhelming at times. There's all these external things that are happening around you, but who are you being in that moment? And thinking about that kind of as a model of working as well. Okay. And stop me because I will carry on talking if you've got any questions. Okay, so we'll carry on. So today I want to introduce you to two core areas. One is the concept of holographic thinking, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. And the other side is anabolic and catabolic energy. Okay, so I'm going to go into my Miro board now. I think so I can zoom in and zoom out. So holographic thinking, can you see that? I think you can, yeah, okay. So holographic thinking, this really resonated with me because I'm very logical, very left-brained. So historically I'd think about numbers, think about outcomes, think about what am I trying to do to get to a given point. But in doing that, sometimes I didn't really think about what's my gut telling me, what's my intuition telling me, and what's my emotion telling me. And over the last 5 or 6 months, like this period in my life is very, very daunting. However, there's something that inside that tells me, no, this is going to be fine. Carry on, don't worry, and that intuition comes in. And my emotion might be up and down, but I'm aware of my emotions. And the idea behind holographic thinking is think about a time when you're in a situation and you're able to tap into all 3 at the same time. So you're thinking with your logic, because a lot of techies are kind of left-brained, but your intuition and your emotion. And what about if you checked yourself across all 3 in the moment? What would you do? What decisions would you make with the concept of holographic thinking? Does that make sense, or have I got blank faces?
It's very complicated to do it. Like it sounds easy when you say it out loud, I guess. But when you sit down and actually look at or analyze the situation logically, the intuition and the emotion, you confuse yourself a lot. So how do you not confuse yourself?
Yes, and actually I used my example. I did bring an example today. So I launched my podcast, and there are billions of podcasts out there. But I thought to myself, what what am I going to enjoy doing? And actually, I was doing newsletters and so forth. All this is new to me, by the way. I wasn't a marketing person. I hardly ever posted on LinkedIn. But the last 6 months, when you're doing things for yourself, we know you have to get your words out there. And these newsletters were great. Videoing myself was awful. I hated videoing myself. Then I thought, actually, what would I really want to do? I love talking to other people. Actually, I like understanding other people's story as senior leaders and what did they do. And when I was launching my podcast, my logical brain was saying, well, why is yours going to be successful? What's going to be new about, what have you got to say for yourself? All of those things were playing in my mind as a logical thinker, but I tapped into my intuition. How do I feel about just having a natural conversation with other people and then sharing that conversation with others? That's all I'm doing. Yes, it's recorded, it was called a podcast, but I checked in with myself intuitively and emotionally. It made me feel better because I'd be talking to people I genuinely love talking to. So my first podcast was with my first person that I started my tech career with, and we just had a conversation. And it was brilliant. And that was my example of holographic thinking. And had I have done that, probably 12 months ago, I probably would have gone with my logical brain and said, there's too many podcasts out there. Yours is going to be crap, so don't even bother trying. So I probably would have talked myself out of it. So that's my example of holographic thinking. I don't know if anybody else would like to share like how this might resonate with the situation you've got at the moment.
Yeah, I think, sorry, for me, it's not like an example, but I kind of really understand what you're trying to do, or what you're saying, or how holographic thinking actually really works. Is that you, the logical part is like, we are seeing like a million of reasons not to do it. Like, there are facts, you understand?
Yes.
There are facts.
Yes.
These facts, like, what's my truth? Like, and so there's facts, there's truth. I think that's the way I'm going to see it, right?
Yeah.
The logic part, your logic brain tell you that, these are the facts, numbers. You understand? Like, what's my truth? Like, your truth now is, I feel good about doing this.
Yes.
You understand? So it's the ability for you to actually be able to, like, okay, understand the facts, use it as numbers, as like guide, but that shouldn't take you away from actually doing what you feel good about. You understand? Like, because your emotions and your intuition will give you a sense of purpose.
Correct. Exactly right.
Your emotions and you give you a sense of purpose. The logic part is there to like, okay, guys, like you are going too far. Try to understand. Look at it from this. The logic part will give you a sense to think, to do a bit of research, to do it better.
Yes.
You understand? Like, okay, let me try to talk to this particular person. The logic part will require to like, okay, I think I need to do LinkedIn. I need to post more. Yes. The fact for you to get to where you are going to. But you shouldn't use that fact. That shouldn't stop you from actually doing what you really do. What
Correct.
you want. And say your truth. You understand? Like, I feel good about this.
Yes.
I enjoy it. Like, give it a sense of purpose. And even if whatever you do in life, if you don't have that sense of purpose or that sense of well-being, like I'm so happy doing this. I think it's not going to be very, very good if you just keep going on with that logical brain. So I think I get
fantastic. I'm really glad. I'm glad those concepts resonate. You're right, you can use different words for it, but it is your truth. What is your truth? So yeah, that's spot on. Thank you for sharing. Brilliant. Okay, oops. 1 second. Okay. Hopefully we'll reconnect again. Right. Oh. Shall I just... There we go. Okay, brilliant. So that was holographic thinking. We could use lots of other examples. The next thing I want to introduce you guys to is the concept of energy. Now, we've called it energy. So when you think about energy, there is no good or bad energy, right? We have energy, and I'm not talking about going to the gym and burning energy, and I'm not talking about Reiki energy or anything like that. I'm talking about these two concepts of energy that we've put here. So we're going to talk about catabolic energy, and we're going to talk about anabolic energy. There's a lot of words there, but I'm going to start to break it down. And the whole idea behind this is once you start to categorize your energy in these levels, you start to open up what's in front of you, okay? But just remember, there is no bad energy and there's no good energy. It's just energy, okay? And there is no, oh my God, I need to be to be the best person in the world, I need to be level 7. This isn't a categorization or a ladder that you need to go through each energy as well. So just to frame that before I start. Okay, so catabolic energy is categorized as level 1, which is when you're in victim mode. Okay, so when you think to yourself, there's a lot going on, poor me, this is all on me, this is all up to me, this is my responsibility, and you start to resonate with that level of energy, which is around really victimhood, right? And when you think about your thoughts, is generally around this is too much. The feelings you may have, this is a bit strong, but there's resentment towards yourself. And therefore, the actions that you take when you're in this level 1 energy, you're only seeing something so in front of you because you don't see anything around you, because you're just in it about you and your moment and your truth as you're in it at that given time. So level 1 is when you're in victim. When you're in victim, you can stay there. You can stay there for a day, a month, wherever long you want to be. But generally, when people start to then think about, okay, but what am I going to do about this? I might be in this victim mentality, but what am I going to do about this? How am I going to move myself forward? And that's when you start to get into level 2 energy, okay? And level 2 energy is still catabolic because you're almost in that fight mode. There's more energy in what you're doing, but it's still very much about how am I going to move myself forward? So the general thought is around, I must fight this. And therefore the feeling is, I'm going to win. I'm going to get here and I'm going to win. Generally, there's a concept of winning and losing in your mind. And therefore, there's a tendency, in terms of leadership at least, is to micromanage, is to over-control, because you feel that you've lost a sense of control, okay? So when you're in catabolic energy, in level 1 and level 2, you're generally in fight victim mode, okay? And if you start to observe yourself within that, you give yourself choice to say, I'm fine, actually I want to be there right now because I need to protect myself. But actually, if you stay there for too long, you do miss things around you, okay? And that's where catabolic comes in. So to give you an example, in my last company, when I said to you towards the end of last year, I felt a little bit burnt out is the right word. I felt quite overwhelmed. When I was in level 1, I felt, oh my God, I can't believe I've got all this responsibility. Nobody cares. It's all my job. It's up to me. And therefore, my mindset was all about me. And then I thought, no, actually, this is not good enough. You know, other people should do more. And actually, I'm going to alleviate that responsibility and I'm going to give it to somebody else. So an example was I was trying to build a product team and I'd lost my second head of product. Again, she was pretty burnt out. And I could have thought to myself, well, I need to just get another product director or head of product to replace her. And I would have been in very much kind of victim mode and anger mode to try and find the next head of product. But I'll show you how my thinking changed, and I can now observe how my energy changed as I started to get into more anabolic energy, which I'll talk about in a moment. Okay, so that's level 1 and level 2. How does that resonate with people, kind of victim and anger mode? Does anybody resonate being in those energy levels? You guys are all, yeah.
I don't know, if something is not going your way, you're probably most likely angry about it, that it's not going my way, I need to sort it out.
Yeah.
I don't know if that resonates there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more definitions of it. And it's not easy to say, right? It's not easy to even admit to yourself sometimes that you're feeling like you're in victim mode or you're in that anger mode. But it happens to all of us, or every single one of us. Okay, so you then start to think about anabolic energy. And anabolic energy is when you start to get out of that kind of fight or flight. Oh, sorry about that. There we go. You start going into more forgiveness. So let's take my product team as the same example, which is they've left, the environment wasn't right for them. That's fine. You know, everybody's allowed to be in a given role and everybody's allowed to go and find another role, as you know, it's free will. And therefore, I need to go easy on myself. It's not my my full responsibility that she stayed or she didn't stay, right? So I'll get into more forgiveness mode. And that is more moving towards anabolic energy, which is I win, I forgive you, and if you win, that's great. But sometimes when we're in that forgiveness mode, we do busy work, we make compromises. So it's good, it's not catabolic, but it's getting into more anabolic energy. And then as you start to move further into your anabolic energy, you start having compassion, you start to understand others better, and you understand why they are the way they are. There's more self-awareness, there's more empathy towards a person, but again, there's no good or bad. Over dialing compassion, guess what, that hurts you as well, because the fact is you might not hold boundaries for yourself. So I know for a fact that most of the things that I felt last year was because I didn't hold my own boundaries. I didn't say, actually, this will happen in 2 months. It's not, not all of it can happen tomorrow. So it was my own responsibility to hold my boundaries. And I was over empathetic towards certain other people's situations. And that was level 4. Level 5 starts to think about, well, actually, what if there is no there is no concept of winning or losing, but we start to think about how can everybody win from this situation? So that situation of my head of product leaving, what we realized is actually I didn't need another head of product. I needed a global product director because the company had scaled so significantly in such a short period of time that the reality of the situation was I needed a more senior leader to look after all the global regions. And therefore, when I think about where I was towards the end, I was more level 5, which is thinking about how do we create a win-win scenario from this situation, which is more level 5. And then level 6 goes into co-creation, which is if I think about where I am today, and I think about all the networking I'm doing, all the speaking I'm doing, the podcasting I'm doing, I'm not tied to a given outcome. I'm thinking about who can I connect it with, and how can I help people, and what is something interesting that I could say that other people might benefit from. And that kind of leans towards more level 6 thinking, which is I am you, I am you, I am you, I am all of us, right? We've all been in those different situations. And actually, if you really think about where you all are, we've probably all been in some of these situations. And actually you start to think about connection, and you start to think about and reframe some of those experiences in a different way, which is more level 6. And then level 7, that you reduce, it's impossible to stay level 7, but it's when there is no concept of winning or losing. And actually, most of the time you only get into a non-judgmental phase is when you're meditating or you're doing something that's really stilling the mind, because our mind's constantly working, and that's more anabolic level 7 kind of energy. Okay, so I've said a lot of stuff there. So I'd love to take any questions or any observations before we just work through an example.
I think for me, talking about managing product teams, it can be tiring, and at times, I think just an example, as a CEO, tell them, okay, this is the vision, this is what we want to do, this is what we need to do, this give them a why. You understand, like, okay, this is why we need to do this, we need funding, we need funding, we need traction, and we need this product to be at this stage for us to be able to get the proper traction and all of those things. And then like everybody's on board, and like, okay, let's do this within a week and all of those things. And then there's issues that I can't control because I can't do what those guys are doing. So sometimes it can, I see myself in those kind of situations, calling me that, they've been in the police stations in the morning, like, because the developers are not in the UK, so come up with in the police stations in the morning, I'm like, I need this thing to happen, and then they come back, like, trying to reach out to them, like, okay, come back after like a day or two, I've been down with malaria, I'm not feeling fine, so it can be, like, me as a leader, I have to be very, very careful, like, okay, I think, I understand where you're coming from, as much as I want us to be in this particular place, this is, anything that is out of my control, I've learned over time not to bother about it. If I can't change it, I'll do something about it. But if I cannot change it, I'm not going to like add more to the issue.
Yes.
And maybe bothering myself about it. Because I just realized that, okay, when you're bothered about it, doesn't really change anything.
No.
Exactly. So why we like is that, to me, I see it like I'm losing twice. Like, I can't change it.
No.
And I'm not bothered about it. So
Yes.
I'm like going deep down. So I just try to
Yes.
tell myself, like, okay, fine. I just look at it from a different perspective. Maybe there's a reason for it. Let me just be calm. Maybe there's another thing that I need to see
Yes.
from that perspective. And
Yes.
like, okay, when they come around, have you done it? Okay, that's fine. Then I just move on to the next level. So I think, that's how
That is very anabolic. That's a really, really, because the way you could have done it, you could have, if you were thinking about this framework, you could have been like, oh my God, I've hired the wrong team, I've got the wrong people here, and this is my responsibility. That outcome is my responsibility. Whether you've got malaria or you've been to the police station since Monday, you could have taken it really personally and you could have been catabolic, but you chose to be anabolic, and therefore thought, well, I can't control this. This isn't my doing, and this isn't their doing. They've had bad luck, and actually, you almost thought, I am them, and actually, let it be, and we'll see what happens. Yeah.
It's good for my mental health.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, it is. Yeah,
It's good for my mental health.
yeah.
You can stress it.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
And when if you're in a relationship, you don't want to bring some of those things home.
Yes.
Because your partner might not want to be like, bro, I'm here, forget, like, you understand? So you just have to be able to manage it.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a really, really good example again. And it's not easy, right? Because it depends on the culture of the company. So if your boss was like, well, you need to get this done, find another plan, your response might be slightly different. So it depends on the culture of the organization as well. So yeah, really important. Thank you. Anyone else before I move on? And last bit now, not too much more theory. Okay, so I just thought, you know what, there's a lot of theory there. So let's just work through really, really quickly an actual example, right? So imagine a scenario where you're watching key people burn out or disengage because of overwork, poor prioritization, and a lack of clear wins. So we've all been there. We've been in products and projects where we carry on and you just can't see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel because things don't materialize in the way they should. So I wanted to try and give you this new framework, knowing that there are existing frameworks out there, right? So if I was to think about me as a mentor let's go with me as a leader. So me as a leader at the time, I'd be thinking about those people that are burnt out, and I'd be thinking about sharing any kind of data around missed sprint deadlines, thinking about the KPIs, and then really managing the expectations with the rest of my peer group as an executive leader, right? To say, well, what are the impacts, and actually helping my team to still feel safe by helping them by managing the stakeholders and managing the rest of the execs, because guess what? The commercial officer would be dependent on the outcomes of my team. The CEO might be dependent on something else as well. The CFO would be like, well, you've already spent millions of pounds developing this thing. Where is the return on our investment? So my job would have been as a leader to manage the expectations of the stakeholders, give them transparency around not now, but this is probably when we can deliver. So that would be my mindset as a leader. Then, as a mentor, I might decide that actually our team are lacking a specific skill set, or they've not got a specific framework, or they need additional support. So my tendency might be to let me bring a senior leader externally as a mentor, not me or not anybody in this room, but somebody that's been there, done that, and can bring some experience into our team around velocity and delivering. So that would be my mentor hat. As a coach, again, I'd be thinking about what does the team need, open-ended questions, acknowledging and validating. With my new lens, with my energetic lens, I'd be thinking about, well, what's my level 1 response to this? My level 1 response could be, I've let them down, I don't know how to fix this, and I could be in victim mode, which is it's been sprint after sprint after sprint where the deadline's overdue, the rest of my peer group's going to be really not happy with me, the CEO is not going to be happy with me, I could be in victim mode. That would be my level 1 response. My level 4 could be the team are doing what they can. They're really burnt out. The scope keeps changing, etc. And actually have compassion for the team, but I might not hold boundaries for myself. My level 6 could be, there's a signal. What's the bigger problem here? what are we trying to do, and is it still valid? And how do we create a win-win or no-win? How do we create co-creation between all of us and bring the exec and the team closer together to create visibility and transparency? So we're one team, and that could be my level 6 across that same scenario as well. Okay, so I just wanted to bring a live example of how this could look in terms of your energetic lens as well. Okay, and that's it. That's all I've got to share today. So any questions? And hopefully that's something that maybe you haven't heard before.
It's a very different perspective to look at it when I was imagining myself, for example. I never thought about my thought process whenever I made any decision. It's interesting, but I feel like if I jump into that, it would overcomplicate sometimes when I'm making a decision. So sometimes I guess, I don't know, it's very different. Like, let's just say you're building a product, for example,
Yeah.
of yourself. Luckily, I'm not directly involved with the team, so I don't have all that pressure, which I can understand. And look, whenever I sit with my product managers or with my manager, I can always see that pressure that's coming back from the team. Essentially, the project is not on time, they need to do some overtime. I can see that fall back, or the team is not going to be happy about it, and so on. However, sometimes we still, in terms of, we still have to make the decision of, I know you're not going to be happy, but I need to do it. There's not much I can do about it because the project is late.
Yes.
And some of the times when you can do it, I wouldn't say it's on my mood, but I would say it's based on the circumstances that at that time I feel myself being in. So I wouldn't really necessarily consider that as a level 1 decision or a level 6 decision. It would be more like, this makes sense, even though it feels a lot more logical than emotional, but this makes sense, okay, let's do that.
Yes.
This, okay, I can probably hold back and he will be okay with a couple of days delay. And okay, let's not push it too much.
No.
And that balance comes a bit with the experience, I guess. And everybody has a very different way of thinking or making those decisions.
Yes.
And honestly, I think this is the first time ever I thought about, like, what's the actual thinking of making the decision. I've always been just, that works, okay, no, that doesn't work. Like, that's your intuition, right? It's your experience and your intuition. But it's really interesting, really appreciate doing this to us. And I think it just opens up that window of self-reflection sometimes. When you sit down and you think about, okay, is this how I've been thinking? Or this is how people think of decisions. And it's quite cool. It's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant.
To add to both of these guys' points as well, it's only that time you really can see through those 3 and those steps, because when you're in the thick of it, as I said, your tunnel vision, you're going through all of those things like a tornado at the same time. For you, it's getting to the end to what you want, but you're going through all of that in the process of it. Yes. You don't think about it because you're not in a theoretic or in a work environment. It's just happening. Bodily, emotional. You're not observing it. Everything. Yes. You're taking it in and you're just processing and just on the fly. Yes. And when you go into the reflection, what did I do that better? Was I thinking logically?
Yeah.
So at that point.
Yes. And that 100%. And I think reflection is the key thing there, which is actually if you start to observe your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions over time, you start to see a pattern. And the more reflections that you do, the better you get at decision making, because you already know how you're thinking and what level you're at. So thank you for sharing. Really appreciate that. I've got, what was I going to say? So I will share after this a couple of toolkits that I've got, which is, again, completely optional, but you can use something like an energy awareness log just to see where you're at on a daily, weekly basis. Was I mainly level 1 this week or level 3 this week or whatever? But start to observe your own energy. And like I said, normally this is designed for me as a coach. I would be helping my clients think about their energy, think about how it's serving them, think about their values, and think about their who. But I think more people, whether you get a coach or not, actually understanding these concepts just might help you in your day-to-day life, whatever roles you're doing. Okay, so that's me. You can find me. I do newsletters. I've told you about my amazing podcast, and I've got my website as well. So feel free to stay in touch, and if you've got any questions at all, you can find me using any of these links. Okay, thank you.
Back in roughly 5 minutes. Okay, thank you.
That was awesome. That thing that you worked on the headset with Sainsbury's, I used to work with Sainsbury's. I actually helped with the implementation of that.
Did you?
I did the security. I did a lot of security program management for Sainsbury's.
So you were using